I want you to share with the audience, I think it is amazing, is you touched on it briefly already about just your imagination, and that was so cool how you just kinda stood your ground of like, It doesn't even matter. My imagination, real, whatever, like, this is what I see, this is what I believe, this is what I'm gonna, keep doing." But what I love is you have told me before about like your kind of walking meditations and like explain to the audience because you have a whole tribe that walks with you on your meditations.
Yes, I do. And so walking meditation, I think I should explain like what that is for me. A walking meditation for me is something that I do based on the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm an advanced student of his work, and so blessed that spirit guided me to that teacher and that community. And the walking meditation is, and I deviate a little bit from his format, but he teaches it. And it's what it is when you go into a meditative state, you're shutting out all of the outside stimuli, right? And so you're blocking it all out so that you can, you're not having any input into those five senses, so that no distraction, you're going in. Now you're going into your heart, the field, whatever you call that space where you're connecting with the higher realms, because we are connected to the higher realms. So it's just kind of going in and getting in there and connecting with them. And when you're in a meditation, you are in a state where this is allowed to happen, and when you're in that state, you experience bliss, and joy. You're in a higher vibration when you're there. And a walking meditation is a practice where we walk with a guided meditation, and the point is to get into that state of connection and that higher level of connection, and stay there with your eyes open and while you're walking, so that you can learn how to walk and live in that higher state. And it's very hard, to do. It takes a lot of practice, but it's so beautiful. So I go and I kind of do my own thing when I'm walking, um, sometimes, well, they last like an hour or an hour and a half, the ones that I do. Um, and I listen to them, and I'm in state, and I'm walking, and I'm in bliss, and then I get excited. So to me, what I need to do an activity, I love movement, and I don't want to get bored, and I'm walking in a beautiful place. I always pick a, specific area that has like natural beauty and less distractions. And while I'm walking, I like to kind of play around with it, right? So I'll like, okay, I'm not here by myself, right? I don't want to be alone. So who's with me? Okay, first of all, Honey and Sweetie are walking with me, right? They're always there. And then I just kind of go, and I now know that this is more my intuition picking up what who really is there with me. Now that I've gone through the mediumship, I realize, okay, yeah. So Jesus walks with me. I have a set of guides that walk with me, and I thought I was putting them with me. I now know that they're there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do, because I have in the past, I love children, obviously who doesn't, I taught children, I love children. I love seeing the world through their eyes. And I've had some children in spirit come to me.
Mm.
And so when I walk, I'm like, okay, so so now I know I have my guides all around me. Honey and Sweetie are here. So I think I usually put this whole row of little children walking in front of me. And so I'm visualizing all of this. And I'm like, okay, so I see, one's on a tricycle, and there's one pulling a wagon with another kid in there, and they're skipping and they're dancing, and all these little children, angels, they're with me, but they walk in front of me, so I have the baby angels in front of me and I'm surrounded, and so I kind of flourish, and I open up. One of the things that I started to do, and I know that this was a guided thing from spirit, is I started and I've always looked up, looking up at the trees, up at the sky, the clouds. Oh, I'm so pulled up. I started to look down, and now while I'm walking, my perspective kind of zooms out and
Mhm.
I'm seeing the trees and the landscape, but I'm not just seeing the trees above the ground, I'm seeing all the root systems and everything that's under the ground that's living. All the living things that are under there, and I'm seeing it connected, and so and then I tell, I'll do things like, okay, I'm going to feel, I imagine that as I take a step, my light goes and it kind of like spreads out, and what do they call that, shimmer the field, like that's my light, so I do all these playful things, and honestly, it brings me to so much happiness, and it makes it fun. So yeah, so I like to use my imagination when I do it, and why not?
Exactly. I
No?
just had to tell you, I don't know about you, Heidi, but hearing her explain all that, I feel like I just went on a guided meditation. My whole body is like lit up as if I'm about to get in the power and do a reading.
Was imagining everything she was saying. It was beautiful.
Oh, isn't it beautiful? Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, those
So,
are, I love
um,
it. I mean, it's the child in me. I've always been this way. I mean, ask my grown kids, ask everybody in my family. I've always been this way. They can't put a lid on me. It's like, no, I refuse to not be happy. I'm sorry. If I want to go and swing on that swing, you do not judge me. I'm going to swing on the swing because it's
you
fun.
understood because I am also I used to teach little children, and like you said, I just love children so much. There's nothing, you can't be closer than God than near a child. It's just such a beautiful experience. But what you were saying about the meditation, I really liked, because somehow in my short span of knowledge, right? Because I'm continuously learning, but I thought the meditation, I know you can, be meditating when you're cleaning and washing the dishes and stuff, but what you were saying, it's a lot more deeper, because the way I meditate is with my eyes closed, and and a face mask with headphones, that so that I am in the full state, and I do go deep, like you were mentioning. But then you explain that you do the same thing, but with your eyes open. And that made me think that has to be to allow yourself to be able to access that state much quicker during the day, right? And so I'm like, that will allow you just instantly to change from one state, let's say you're bothered, to calmness, because you're used to doing it away, like you're aware when you meditate, but this is like fully aware, right? You can be working, you can.
And being out in public. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, aren't you outside or you're
Yeah,
not in your
I
just
am.
house?
I am. And I usually will take paths or go, to places where there's not a lot of people around and especially not traffic. But I have to say that there are times, when people are going to see this crazy woman walking with this big grin on her face, or she's laughing, and it's like, I don't care. Because the walking meditations that I do, that I learned from Dr. Joe, like I said, I kind of modify it to my own way. And when, if you become a student of his, and you learn how he teaches it, there's so much more, to the learning of it. When you are in, there's parts of the walking meditation where when you're getting into state where you're standing still. So I walk for the whole thing, and that's just me, and I got myself used to getting myself in state while I'm walking with my eyes open. And I always ask for, like, okay, keep me safe. Keep me safe. And I'm aware, I'm not going to be in some place where I'm going to step into the street. I'm aware of it. But oh my gosh, it's so powerful, because when you create and act and live from that higher place, that higher state where you're connected, what you produce is higher level, So it's like, well, I want to actually create from, that higher level, because that's going to be all the more, you know, beautiful what the results are from doing that and from living. And you look at people differently, you look at everything differently, when you kind of open your eyes and you connect with your eyes open. Now, I think Suzanne talks about that. Suzanne Giesman, one of the teachers that I think the three of us probably have in common,
Yeah.
Mhm.
mediumship teacher, is she touches on that a little bit about, how to stop yourself in the daytime when you need to kind of get in more in a lot, get back in alignment, take your breath, and you can do that where you connect, and you can connect and then continue, and it kind of gets you in alignment. So, I mean, it's the thing. I love it. I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I'm blessed that I have this imagination, and I don't care what people think as much about my imagination. It's always been a part of me. And so I just have fun with it.
That's
That's
amazing.
very, very interesting. You were going to ask something.
Another encounter that stands out to you of, maybe an ascended master.
I did have an I had two, but I could save one for later. I had an experience where I know that Master Kutumi, incarnated into a man, into a person here to encounter me. And I had spent the morning talking to him. I'm telling him how much I love him, and playful and teasing and everything. And I just felt this enormous surge of love just like coursing through my body for Kutumi, right? And I'm like, Kutumi, I love you. So I go to the beach. I'm doing this nice little walk by myself on the beach, and I'm picking up all these neat little like beach rocks and things, because I'm attracted to that. And I was picking these little pieces up. I was like a child. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It's got these little shells embedded in it. And as I'm walking, I look up. There was no one else on the beach. And I look up and I see a man's figure standing maybe 50 feet ahead of me on the shoreline. And he had on this like billowy kind of not a robe, but it was like a billowy garb, right? And the colors were muted, and it's not something that I've ever seen, So this was like this different kind of clothing, but there he was, and it was like this like tunic with pants underneath it, and he was there, and I looked up and I saw him, and I felt this like connection to this man, this poor guy, he's standing on the beach. But I continued on my walk, and I was thinking and all of this. And as I approached him, he raised his hand up like this. He was there. And I was close enough to see his face, his facial features, and his eyes they were like blurry. I'm like, I can't explain it. It was like they weren't clear. They were just it was different. And I looked at him, and he said, what do you have there? And I I just walked right over to him like a kid, to to the Pied Piper. And I walked over and I'm like, I have these rocks. And I'm showing him, I don't know who this guy is, right? My mind is saying it's just a nice man, but part of me knows there's something more. I'm like, I have these rocks and I usually pick up shells, but I think this is so nice. And he looked at him and he's like, oh yeah, those are nice. And so I just like, "Ugh," and I walked away and I walked a couple of feet and I turned around. He was gone. And
Wow.
I knew, and there's no way he could have made it all the way
Mhm.
to, like the exit of the beach. I'm like, that was Katumi. I know that was him. And he came to me just to kind of touch with me in the human, in a human form. And that meant so much to me, and I know. And my mind wants to say, you're crazy. You're crazy. It was just some poor guy. And I'm like, no, it was him. I know I met him.
And
So
yeah,
it was
and
so
I
great.
believe it. And that's what I think people that aren't tapped into this ability or know, like, there's a knowing. Like, sometimes I can't explain it, but we know. Like, just trust us. We know. But again, as you're telling that story, my whole body is lighting up again of just, I feel like I'm like a lie detector test. My body will respond and I get my chills from head to toe anytime. Like a
It's a really
spiritual
good
story.
skill to have, especially when you're raising children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so magical, and I'm just so in awe, and I never want to not be in awe,